For the third time in 4 seasons, Forster football is Midwest Conference champions, and they're headed back to the NCAA tournament. Welcome inside episode 11 of the Coaches Show. I'm Adam Plager alongside the head coach of the Forsters, Jim Catanzaro. Well, let's first start by talking about the energy inside Farwell Field, capacity crowd. What was that environment like, field level?
That game was exactly what a championship game should feel like. There was great support for us. The opposing team had a great crowd there. There was a lot of energy as the game went back and forth. So did the energy of the crowd. I think our guys really fed off that a little bit. That fourth quarter, it was literally deafening, where I could not hear while we were trying to have a conversation on the sideline at one point. And when you're not a stadium that seats 50,000 or something like that, that's not normal. And it was deafening in the fourth quarter as we were trying to get play calls made and things like that. And so, the pep band being there and the student section was loud, the parents section was into it. We heard Johnny Cash, 5 times on the day, so that's always a good thing as well.
Yeah, a lot of fun for sure. A lot of Johnny Cash, a lot of A.J. Jackson. He contributes to all 5 touchdowns. He makes program history. He's the leading scorer in franchise history. How special was it to see him do that environment, as well as to do it at home?
Yeah, I think to do it in a championship game for him was like a bit one of those chapters in the storybook, right? Like that game in particular, I think people will talk about, and I think that one of the things that he and I both talked to you about after the game on Saturday was, that offensive line and our tight ends, downfield blocking by the wide receivers, was really special. And if you look at even the numbers of our other running backs on the day, their yards per carry numbers were pretty darn special, and that tells you that the O-line was getting great push. The tight ends were. It was probably the best game our tight end room collectively has ever had, whether it was in the run game, whether it was a little bit in the pass game, a couple of big first down catches. But you see a couple of big plays by AJ, and you get, Alex Popovich gets a double knockdown, gets 2 guys down on the ground on the same play. Vinny Kalasako on that play we had 4 of our offensive linemen within the 5-yard goal line as AJ crossed the end zone from 50 yards out. And I think that's really an indicator of, the whole team just really all believing and all just saying, hey, we're going to execute this and give the effort necessary. And then I think that, AJ's, come on, he's special. We know this. They say tape doesn't lie, and the tape shows that he's a really talented player. And, he took on a bigger role. We knew going into it that he was going to carry the ball probably, I think we thought 20 times. It ended up being 28 times. So I think that's totally fine by us. But I also think there's times where he was the distractor. Like him in the backfield brought all of Monmouth's eyes in, and that opened up some things in the passing game for some other guys. And I thought that was, a key to our success. The bubble to Tommy Carberry on the outside there to get up the sideline for a first down, and just some different things like that. There's a lot of guys, but AJ's career is one that, if we find another player to duplicate that, then I did a pretty good job recruiting.
Yeah, pretty special to watch him over my 4 years here, and obviously he's battled through injury a lot to get to where he has now. Look at the game as a whole. Monmouth battles back. They end up taking a lead. What can you say about the belief system on that sideline despite going down?
Yeah, I thought that the game on Saturday was so indicative of our creed. The resilience, the passion, the toughness, and most importantly, the 60 minutes or as long as it takes. When you consider that the stuff that happened in the last 2.5 minutes of that football game, it goes without saying, like, we had a drive in the fourth quarter that went like 9 minutes and came away with no points. We go 4th and 4, we don't convert, and it could have been real easy for our entire team to just be deflated. Like, oh, that was our last chance. It's under 3 minutes. What are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And that never wavered. The guys on our sideline was like, hey, we're good. We're going to get the ball back. We're going to, like, at the moment, it was like, hey, at a minimum, we're going to get the ball back and tie it up because the defense is going to go get a stop. Well, they get a stop. We get the big punt return, tie it, then get another stop because then they played for the win. They weren't playing for overtime either. And because they went for it and we got that stop on 4th down, that changed the whole game in terms of whether or not we were going to go for how I would have called plays after we got the ball on the plus side of the field versus if we would have been on the negative side of the field in that type of situation, and a tie game would have changed exactly what I would have done. So, again, great job by our defense getting the huge stop on 4th and 1. But getting the 3 and out to force them to punt, that was even bigger. And then the guys on that punt return team, we worked on a new return. We executed it to a T, and obviously got AJ down inside the 10, 12-yard line, and kind of went from there. So it was really special to see our team really embrace that full 60 minutes. I don't think there was ever a question for them that we were going to be in it. And just some of the big plays down the stretch really were really special.
We'll talk about the defensive side of this game, one in particular. Junior captain Thomas DeCesaro, he has an interception, but 7 solo tackles, 13 tackles overall, a tackle for loss. What energy does he bring to the group defensively?
It's funny because he's the youngest of the 5 captains. There are 6 captains that we have. He's the youngest, but he's the one that does the most talking. Like, the guys are tuned into him and his passion for the game of football. Great football IQ. Wears his emotion on his sleeve, and he's so passionate about what we're doing and what he wants to accomplish as a team. He's never been a guy that cared about his personal accolades. It's always about the team wins, the team wins, the team wins, and that's why he's a captain as a junior. He's that guy that it really resonates with guys. He's not afraid to challenge people. He's not afraid to support people. He has a really good understanding of where in the game it is on whether or not you should be pushing somebody or supporting them. And again, his performance at safety, like he's back there with Trent, making all the calls and the adjustments and slight adjustments. And, I think that as they continue to build that, we just keep getting better. And so, but he's a special player, came on as a true freshman, played as a true freshman, has continued to play for us. And his production is through the roof, but his leadership is where it's really special.
Something you guys always preach is having to make big plays throughout a game. It was a storyline of that game on Saturday. What can you say about the big plays and just that mentality?
Yeah, I mean, whether it's the last play of the game with Preston Mosier getting a sack, strip, fumble, Donovan Plummer shooting through on the 4th and 1 to make the tackle to stop that, or the 4th and 2 to make it short of the sticks. There's guys, Jackson Sander and Blake Ware hit their running back and forced a fumble the first drive of the third quarter. On offense, Josiah Kidd makes a huge run on a second down to get us into the red zone. Alex Popovich, I talked about his blocking, but he had a big 15-yard first down catch on a third down play. Tommy Carberry comes in, breaks a tackle near the line of scrimmage to convert a third down. T. Land, not just catching the ball at the end of the game, but running the ball as the Wildcat quarterback a little bit on some power reads. There were guys all over the field making plays. And I know that AJ is going to get a lot of the attention because of the effort that he put forth, which was definitely special. But even he will tell you that the guys who made plays in critical moments set up some of his opportunities and took the pressure off of him a little bit. So I think that from that perspective, there were guys on the spot. Mel Chun busted a couple of really good runs in the second half. And, we were just – there were a lot of different guys making a lot of different plays. And many of those plays you'll never see on the scoreboard or in the scouting report, because it was Bodie Rubright and Jay Kostries dominating his tight ends at blocking. Pop, like I told you on that one, he had the double knockdown on it. Like, you see some of those things, and you'll get some of those interior offensive linemen who never really stand out, but they're all-American defensive end, didn't have a sack. There weren't very many tackles for a loss on the day. And when you do some of those things, they kind of go unnoticed because people, we expect that. But when you play against, quite possibly the best defensive line in the conference that doesn't play at Lake Forest, you got to be ready for certain things. And those are really talented players who had success against us at times in the past. And I thought that our guys really stood up and really performed at a high level.
It was a collective effort, a big team win, and now for the third time in 4 seasons, conference champions. Is that sunk in yet? I mean, to also do it on senior day with that class.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. This is the first time we've done it with a game to spare. And so it was nice that we get this little bit of breathing room with maybe a little less pressure in the last game of the year. Though in the last game of the year, we do have to we gotta win because we want the bye week. And so if we want a bye week in the playoffs, we got to win next week and have some chips fall our way. And I think there's a possibility of that. I do think that it has sunk in a little bit. And where it really sunk in for me is there were a number of guys here that were on the first team that I was the head coach of. Juan Evertez, Anthony Guerrero. Those are guys that were leaders for us, captains, leadership board guys. And to see the pride that they had in the championship when they were on the teams that were going 2-8 and 3-7, for them to be here for the championship game as alums and see that truly special. There's some younger alums like Justin Elby, last year's team captain, who's here and was just so excited that we kind of got back to where we were the 2 years before, because he felt like last year we should have gotten one and we just didn't play well enough. The number of texts and calls. So yeah, it's been a good 24 hours. And, there's that coach cliche, right? Like, we got 24 hours. We still got a game against Chicago this week and then playoffs. So we've got a lot more to play for. And the fact that we know we've got at least 2 more weeks of football, maybe more, I think that's really special for our guys to be able to have that. But we appreciate the fact that we get to hang the banner, and the Rock standard was delivered. We get to carve it into the Rock out there on Farwell, and now it's about getting ready for Chicago.
All right, we'll talk about that rivalry game upcoming this coming Saturday on the road at Chicago. What should we know about this matchup?
I mean, they are really good. Kyle, their running back is really special. They've been kind of right on the cusp. They made a quarterback change after their Monmouth game that has made a really big difference for them. It will be their senior day, so I'm sure that they're going to be fired up with a little bit extra juice. This is also the team that we probably recruit against the most, so there's some guys that we recruited that are there, and we have some guys that they recruited that are here, and so I think that there's that little piece of a little bit more juice in that squeeze, if you will, when it comes to the relationships between the two programs. We don't recruit against Monmouth a ton, so when we recruit against Chicago, they recruit nationally like we do, and we'll see them in Arizona and California and other places, and we want to make sure we've got the feather in our cap a little bit. But they've been a team that's really, really tough. They had a coaching change that took place in the summer. So as they got into the season, they were kind of scrambling a little bit, and they've really been resilient, showed great resolve, and it's going to be a tough game. I mean, they got us last year on our field on our senior day, and so we need to hopefully have the right mentality going into the game.
All right, Forster fans, that is going to wrap up episode 11 of the Coaches Show. The Forsters will conclude the regular season on this Saturday. It's a meeting with the University of Chicago.